What's up, Lore Masters? About a year ago, I did a scene analysis of a Voyager episode where I discussed the use of the camera, dialogue, and interaction. It was something that people seemed to enjoy, but given how long it took me to put together and that I didn't really feel like I had enough experience, I shelved it. But we're back. Today we'll be looking at Bashir confronting Ross. Before we get into it, a few things to note. Given the writing of the time, the harsh white light that was required for the type of televisions this was being broadcast on, and the orders from high, don't expect the nuance we see from camera language today. Unfortunately, we won't see a ton of dynamic use of lighting and camera work until the TNG movies, Enterprise, Discovery, and Picard. But there are still some great techniques that they used here, so let's just get into it.
Come in. Admiral.
Doctor.
Feeling better, sir?
Much. Dr. Frame tells me that I should take it easy for a few days, but paperwork waits for no man.
In the scene, Bashir is coming to confront Ross after realizing Ross and Sloan conspired to ensure that the Romulan Senator Kretak should be removed from her post. Already at the beginning of the scene, we notice a quite distinct power play. We have Bashir standing up and looking down on the Admiral. While it is not always the case, most often when a character is framed looking down at another one, especially if the camera is looking up at them, like we see here, there's an inherent power disparity between the two. In this case, we see Bashir standing above Ross, as noted. This will stay consistent for most of the scene as Bashir drills Ross and tries to stay with his moral superiority. And it's interesting because before dialogue or emotion has even been established, we already are primed subconsciously to put Bashir in the right of this conversation.
What can I do for you?
I have a question. Where's Sloan?
Sloane's dead.
Admiral? Where's Sloan?
And now the framing is put as a medium close-up, possibly a close-up for Ross. This not only makes it easier for us to see the actor's emotions, but now we are right in Ross's face. An accusation has been made, however indirect, and has been leveled at him. In effect, the man has been put on trial and we're now up in his grill.
If we're going to have this discussion, then it's off the record.
Dat ADR.
But before I answer your question, answer mine. How did you know?
The man Koval described was not the same man who recruited me into Section 31. Anyone clever enough.
At this point, Bashir comes down to eye level with Ross. While this gives action so that the actor isn't just staying wooden, it also serves to move the story and the feeling. As he breaks down what has occurred, Bashir is moving to eye level with Ross. He finds what the Admiral did to be a betrayal of everything Starfleet is, and so he comes down to Ross's level. It's interesting because it seems like he can't even say what is occurring without lowering himself to the occasion.
To pull the wool so completely over my eyes wouldn't have been caught by the Romulans so easily. There had to be another
While it's subtle, we even see the shift from being a superior Starfleet officer to something lower than what Ross would prefer to be. At the beginning, Ross's head is up, and then as he shifts from one side to the other, his head and shoulders just lower. He slowly finds himself coming down to the muck that he realizes he's in.
Explanation. And then I remembered that you were the one who planted the idea in my head that Sloan had an accomplice. You were the one who didn't want to tell the Romulans that there was an assassination plot. You were the one who issued the orders preventing me from contacting Deep Space Nine. And when the time came to arrest Sloan, you conveniently had an aneurysm, leaving me alone.
Oh my god, I hate having the curtains pulled from behind the scenes. Those step sound effects don't sound anything like what feet would sound like when they're on carpet, which is what an Intrepid class has. But regardless, at this point, we see a heightening of tensions. Bashir slowly begins to move around the desk closer towards Ross. While his actions are not overtly aggressive, he is challenging Ross in a hostile way, both morally and intellectually. The Doctor is circling the Admiral and will complete this by coming behind him soon. To be concise, while he is slowly deconstructing the fall of the Admiral's morality, he's circling him, moving in for the kill.
with no one to turn to for help except Kretak. And as I realized your involvement, the rest began to fall into place. Where is he?
Again, an extremely clear showing of power. You have Bashir looking down on Ross with contempt. The camera is closer to Ross, giving us the feeling that this is from his point of view, which is quite clearly aimed up at the good doctor.
I don't know.
But he's alive, isn't he?
And we're using this technique again with Bashir moving down because we're discussing the plan in depth, the nitty gritty. So he comes to eye level with Ross. He is in the man's face, making it more tense.
He was supposed to be beamed away a split second before the phaser beam hit him. Whether it worked or not, I couldn't say.
How long has Koval been working for Starfleet?
He's been providing the Federation with critical military intelligence for over a year. When he started working with Section 31, I don't know.
But in any case, we have our mole.
While there's not a lot of camera language here, I do want to say that Siddig does an absolutely wonderful job here. The complete change in his tone and demeanor, though condescending, is very powerful and notable. He stands back up and basically becomes judge and jury for the man on trial.
Working for us at the top levels of Romulan government. Good for us.
I won't beat a dead horse here, but this is the height of Bashir's power within the scene. You have him standing behind Ross in judgment, with Ross looking down. Everything has led up to this moment where you basically have the Doctor looking at the Admiral as some form of peasant.
And what about your friend, Senator Kretak? What's going to happen to her?
Dismissed from the Senate? Definitely. Imprisoned? Most likely.
Executed?
I hope not.
You set her up. She was an innocent woman and you let Sloane destroy her. Why? She believed in the Alliance. She was on our side.
No, she wasn't.
At this time, and moving forward, the power dynamic that we've seen before is shattered. Ross is now at eye level with Bashir, and while it may seem like the camera is looking up at the Admiral, I'd say they're more at an even power level. Ross is going to present the pragmatic answer versus Bashir's Starfleet morality.
I told you before, Julian, she's a patriot, which means if it serves the interest of the Romulans to negotiate a separate peace with the Dominion, Kretak would push that option. And believe me, the Dominion would like nothing more than to make a deal with the Romulans right now.
So Koval becomes your guarantee that that does not happen. And as a man who was nearly killed for his anti-Federation activities, his recommendation to stay in the war becomes all the more convincing.
That's the general idea.
And how long have you worked for Section 31?
I don't.
Oh, just a temporary alliance, is it?
Something like that.
You don't see anything wrong with what happened, do you?
I don't like it. But I've spent the last year and a half of my life ordering young men and young women to die. I like that even less.
That's a glib answer. And a cheap way to avoid the fact that you've trampled on the very thing that those young men and women are out there dying to protect. Does that not mean anything to you?
Enter Arma. Einem silent legis.
In time of war, the law falls silent. Cicero. So is that what we have become? A 24th century Rome, driven by nothing other than the certainty that Caesar can do no wrong!
This conversation never happened. You're dismissed.
Well, I don't want to put too much into this because it makes sense for him to move away after being challenged. It's interesting to see Bashir back off. He moves back around the table. Suddenly, he's put on the defensive with a pragmatic argument that is really kind of hard to tussle with. So again, I think I may be looking a bit too much into some of this, that it's probably just happy accident and now done on purpose through the language of the camera. I did find this a really interesting piece to break down though, but what do you guys think? Do you like this kind of video? Want to see more? Want me to put more advanced graphics on it? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.